Around the middle of March, as I made sure everything was okay with my collection, I noticed that the giant Godzilla had the most awful thing imaginable. A scrape on his knee. Some of the paint was scratched off, revealing a bit of the white plastic beneath. I couldn't let something like that remain on an unreleased enormous gift from my dad. It was no longer in mint condition. While I never liked the idea, I had no choice if I wanted to look at the toy without instantly noticing the scratch. I would put on my thick coat, get a few bucks from my wallet, and run down to the department store to get some paint. Bracing the chilling, cold air and snow, I rushed a few blocks across the pale neighborhoods to the store. I got one small bottle of brown paint, a small brush, and some gum, all for about $5 total. It was starting to get dark, so I knew it was going to get colder, and it was freezing enough on the way here. So, I speed-walked my way back home. Speed-walking turned into jogging, and jogging turned into running. As the falling light snow tickled my eye ridge, the cold air rushed into my mouth, nose, and forehead, I kept on running faster and faster, yearning and begging for just one refreshing drop of hot tap water from my bathroom shower. I was almost home until I learned the importance of paying attention to the sidewalk the hard way. I slipped on a patch of ice, and as I plummeted to the ground, I dropped the plastic bag. I ended up landing on one knee as a large pain entered into my skin through the cold ground, lasting for what seemed like an eternity in this chilling storm. When I regained myself, I saw the horror below me. It appears the hand I used to prevent my upper body from falling had landed on the tube of brown paint, which I didn't really notice until the pain in my hand was gone. Its contents had splattered onto the pack of gum and the brush. I knew that most of the paint, if not all, was lost to the ground, and I wasn't going to allow myself to chew gum covered in paint. All I had was that stupid brush. When I got home, I warmed myself up in the bathroom and searched for wounds. I found none on my hand, but my right knee had one scar, a patch comprised of mostly dead, white, scratched skin. When I looked at this, it was as if I took a time machine back an hour ago as I was looking at my Godzilla figure. All I could say to myself was, no. That thing, that toy, was predicting everything. There was no other explanation for all of this. The cake incident, the fact that he hugged the Queen of Snow, then it got cold, the fall, all of that was coming from the toy. But that couldn't have happened. Toy Story was just a movie. Even then, it wasn't as if everything in my collection was coming to life. It was just this one giant Godzilla 2014 figure that was changing its poses to fit whatever happened to me in the future. Nobody was messing with it. Then again, there was that Queen Elsa figure that moved to hug Godzilla, but ever since I separated her from him, she was in the same position back on the vitrine without moving at all. What made this Godzilla toy so special? Once I spent about 2 hours getting this theory through my head, I didn't know how to feel. It seemed that everything it had predicted was negative, but it wasn't all bad. I still got some nice cake during the chomping hand thing, and the polar vortex made me miss school with some snow days. After thinking about what to do with the toy, I decided to grow some guts and let it predict. After all, it was like my own personal window to the future. This Godzilla toy could show me what nasty stuff was going to happen later in the day, so I could try to avoid these negative events because I knew what was coming. This toy was essentially my device to avoid bad things. To say the least, I was not letting another soul know about this. I would let the toy do what it wanted to do, and if things went right, then good. If not, then I honestly didn't know. The problem this time was that the toy didn't do anything for about 2 weeks. In fact, I think it was a little bit over 2 weeks. It just stood in the same position with that scrape on its knee. Then around the end of March, the scrape had gone away, around the same time as my own went away. The following day brought something more interesting. The toy seemed to be bending over with its mouth open and one of its arms on its knee. Was it throwing up? Was it looking at something? Was it stretching? I didn't really know at first, so I just told myself I didn't get enough sleep, so my brain was too slow to function until 10 a.m. I guess I learned to think harder at lunch. I overheard one student at lunch telling a really funny joke. Arnold was asked to switch to Windows 7, but when he replied, he said, "Hasta la vista, baby." I laughed so hard, I bent down forward on my chair, slapped my hand on my knee, and I thought I was going to piss myself. My friend and I had a good time there. 3 days later, I saw that the toy seemed to be holding something in one of his arms, but his other arm was to his side, and his mouth was shut really tight. I tried to open it, which I did, but it was harder to do than usual. Perhaps I was going to meet someone I would feel uncomfortable with, or try to reason with something only to fail. Maybe this could be the reason I would end up with a tightly shut mouth. I figured that the theory of me arguing with a friend, getting all frustrated, thus closing my mouth would be the most likely outcome, since one of my friends at school was becoming a douche now. The dreary Thursday continued. Then, it was during English class, as I saw that I was only able to score a 72 on a paper I wrote on the impact of George Orwell and what he did for literature. I had worked night and day and night on this thing. Not only did I just pause in shock, but my mouth tensed up, as I let out a large sigh by breathing through my nose, as my free arm dropped down, paralyzed by the sight of that stupid red number. It was only until I got home and rushed to my room that I noticed what the toy was telling me. I was just about to quit on this whole insane plan. It was clear that even if the Godzilla toy was predicting all this crap, I had no idea what he was trying to tell me. The only moments where I did know was when it actually happened, and even then, it was too late. So what was the point? There was none. However, I thought to myself, if I got rid of something like this, I would probably never find something like it again in my life. Where else was I going to find a fucked up Godzilla toy with the powers of a Twilight Zone episode? Figuring tomorrow was another day to tell the goddamn future, I decided to give it one last chance.